Welcome to the Improve and Have Fun podcast. My name is Paul V. Perez, and on this podcast, I work on improving myself while having fun along the way, and I do so by documenting my life and interests. This is my review of The Gray Man, a Netflix exclusive, a Netflix original. The Russo brothers, they've directed some of the most financially successful movies for Disney's Marvel Cinematic Universe, those being Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. And also, this is not their first foray, I guess, into Netflix exclusives, as they made Extraction a year or two ago with Chris Hemsworth. And Netflix had produced a report some time ago where it said that Extraction was one of their most viewed movies for a particular window in time. But now they've come back. They're making The Gray Man. And this is a mixture of a Michael Bay movie. Think like The Rock, that movie The Rock with Sean Connery, cool, great action movie made by Michael Bay. Also mix that in with the Mission Impossible and also Fast and Furious. And then you have basically The Gray Man. And Ryan Gosling is the star, and his performance is great. Chris Evans is the villain. He had this fantastic mustache, and that was a sight to behold in itself. Ryan Gosling, he plays a similar character to what he played in Drive in 2011, where he's kind of like this emotionless action hero, and he does a really good job of that. It's kind of like in his face, you know? And Chris Evans is like a more dangerous, crazier version of his sarcastic Knives Out character. Ana de Armas, she's gorgeous and she has a presence about her, but the role she plays, I felt, could have been played by any other female action hero, like a Scarlett Johansson or Mary Elizabeth Winstead. The same goes with Regé-Jean Page, one of the stars from Bridgerton, from season 1 from Bridgerton, another Netflix exclusive, and he plays one of the main antagonists as well. But I feel that any other evil action authority figure, like a Tommy Lee Jones type, could have played the same kind of character in this movie. So for me, Ana de Armas and Regé-Jean Page were interchangeable in the sense. Great action, simple story. It's a chase, thriller, action movie where a man is on the run for having information he shouldn't have. And the movie does a great job of setting up Ryan Gosling's character to be like a major badass that you don't want to cross. This film is one of Netflix's biggest budget films, clocking it at $200 million, and the viewer can tell on screen as the film is beautifully shot. Also, the globetrotting, which happens in this movie, reminded me of Red Notice, another Netflix exclusive that came out earlier this year with Ryan Reynolds, Gal Gadot, and Dwayne Johnson, where once again they're globetrotting from different locations. One of my uniquely favorite things about The Gray Man is this particular camera shot, which they use multiple times. It reminds me of Sam Raimi's high-speed traveling shots in the classic Evil Dead movies. Here, it's fast and smooth, and the shot surveys the current scene and leads right to a character interaction. What came to mind in watching The Gray Man is, why doesn't Netflix become a full-on movie studio and give their films a 45-day release window, not the current one-week method it's using? It's true that promoting the film like a traditional movie studio would increase the cost, but couldn't they possibly make that money back, plus more, in most cases, by doing so? There is appointment viewing and appointment watching, I guess, with streaming services. Like an example, a recent example being Stranger Things Season 4. But with streaming, movies and TV shows, it feels more disposable. It doesn't feel like when you would go to a movie theater where you got to buy a ticket and you're there at the time that you bought the ticket for, and you're sitting down and consuming this movie. And in this way, I feel that streaming is great for TV shows, but movies should go to theaters, basically. Not all movies, because there's some movies that are meant for streaming, but a movie like The Gray Man, I think, should be in the movies. And this opinion, it's motivated by Netflix's recent earnings report. It came out like either in late June or early July of 2022, where it said that they lost subscribers, and to make up revenue for that, they'll be offering an ad-based tier to bring in, like I said, revenue. It's something similar to what Hulu does on one of their tiers, where they show commercials basically within their TV shows and in their movies. One pro and con that I wanted to mention was definitely the stunts in the movie. They're big, they're bombastic, they're a lot of fun. Watching them, of course, it's a fantasy. It's an action fantasy. The Gray Man, as I mentioned before, has a little bit of Fast and Furious in it, and that's definitely, you can tell by the stunts, which are just like ridiculous, and like no human would survive what these characters go through, especially Ryan Gosling's character. I'm talking Vin Diesel, car into space, punching a dinosaur kind of thing. This is the level of some of the action scenes in The Gray Man. A sequel and a spin-off have been announced, a spin-off show. But was the movie considered successful? According to Netflix's top viewed films, I know I watch Grace Randolph's movie math on YouTube, and she breaks down kind of which shows were the most watched. She covers Nielsen, she covers the Apple top 10 movies that were kind of rented and purchased for the week, and she also covers Netflix's rankings on the top TV shows for that particular week, or the top movies, and the top movies, not or, and the top movies. And The Gray Man has been getting many views. But a sequel and a spin-off show, as I mentioned, have been announced. And this reminds me of Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead, which had a spin-off movie from one of the secondary characters, a thief character. His film was like an origin story before getting to the events of Army of the Dead. His film was called Army of Thieves. And it seemed like an expensive movie as well, but it wasn't received very well. I remember some of the reviews not being great for it. And was anybody asking for it? That's my biggest question there. Is this a wise decision on Netflix's part to invest in sequels and spin-offs if the Netflix fans are not asking for it? And I wouldn't know how to gauge it or how they gauge this on their end. But personally, when coworkers at work are talking about a show or a movie and they're evangelizing it, they're like, you gotta check it out, it's so good. This is what gets me personally interested and wanting to see something. Of course, word of mouth from someone else, especially someone else's taste who I might trust. If they say it's great, then I'm curious to want to check it out. But no other coworkers have approached me talking about how great The Gray Man is. So it makes me think, like, why isn't Netflix spending even more money on, after they've already spent $200 million on this movie, and then spending more money on a sequel and a spin-off, if fans aren't asking for it? Now, going back to Netflix's earnings report, I thought this came to mind of how they lost subscribers. They're going to go do this ad-based tier similar to Hulu. Is there another way that maybe Netflix can make money? Maybe they're doing this already by licensing their content, their popular content, like an Ozark or Stranger Things, Squid Game. These are some of the more recent favorites of recent years, but I'm sure the list is long. You see Universal, they do this with The Office. Warner Brothers does this with Friends, and Columbia Pictures does this with Seinfeld. Like, can Netflix license out their content? They're not doing it already that I know of. I have not seen them doing this, but can they license their content, and this could be another revenue generator for them? And the question has to be as well, has Netflix reached the saturation point with subscribers? And once again, that recent earnings report, they lost 1 million subscribers. This is what they reported. Now, is it getting too expensive to subscribe to these streaming services since there are so many? You got Paramount Plus, Peacock, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, just to name a few. I'm not even talking about some of the smaller ones like a Shudder or an AMC Plus. When does subscribing to all these services become basically a cable bill? And did we cut the cord to try to avoid a cable bill? Now, I've heard from, once again, I say probably in all of my movie and TV show reviews, I'm a big fan of Christian Harloff, Grace Randolph, John Campea, they have talked about, especially Grace Randolph has talked about churn. And what is churn? Churn is basically subscribing to a service to see a particular show and then just unsubscribing when you're finished. I do this with Peacock when I want to watch Yellowstone. I really enjoy that show, so I'll subscribe to Peacock once the whole show is done and it's all there. I'll watch it in a week or two and then just unsubscribe. I find that I'm probably going to do this even more so in 2023, just as a means to go ahead and save money. But what happens is normally around the holidays, fourth quarter, Christmas time, these services, they do give a great annual deal. Like I know Disney Plus does this, Hulu does this as well, where you pay like $60 and then you get Disney Plus for a year or something like that. And I'm okay with that because it's kind of once you pay for it, you just forget it. You have it for the next 12 months. I like that. I don't ever see Netflix do that. I think moving forward, I may adopt a churn model myself to go ahead and save some money on these subscription services because there's a lot of great content to watch, but I don't want to pay for everything. I also did the same with actually Apple Plus when I wanted to watch Ted Lasso, which was great, and also the kind of action fantasy movie series with Jason Momoa. Those are my thoughts on The Gray Man. Those are my thoughts on the recent Netflix changes which are happening. Of course, when I hear what you have to say, please comment below if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're listening to the podcast version of this, I'm going to leave a link in the show notes so that you can click on that. It'll zap you over to the blog and you can leave your thoughts and comments there. Please support this podcast by doing any or all of your Amazon shopping. You'll find that link in the show notes for this episode, or even making a small donation or sending a tip. There's links for all of that once again in the show notes. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And find all my content at improveandhavefun.com. And I'll catch you on the next one.